Most people wander through life naive, unprepared, and easily manipulated. They mistake kindness for strength and honesty for wisdom, only to be crushed by those who play the game with sharper claws. Today, I will show you 8 ruthless lessons that strip away illusions and make you dangerously smart. Lessons that protect you from deception and give you the power to outthink anyone who dares to stand in your way. In every kingdom, whether of politics, business, or daily survival, there are those who rule and those who are ruled. The difference is not fate nor fortune, it is knowledge, sharpened into a weapon. If you wish to stop being a pawn and instead move like a king, you must learn the laws that others fear to speak aloud. These are not gentle truths, they are daggers hidden in velvet. Learn them, and the world bends. Ignore them, and the world breaks you. Listen carefully. Most men will tell you they want the truth. They swear they value honesty, they insist that facts matter. But if you observe the world with ruthless eyes, you will see the truth is a weak currency. It is power that moves men. Not truth, not justice, not righteousness, power. And once you understand this, you begin to see why the honest man so often dies poor, unheard, forgotten. The world does not crown the man with the sharpest facts. It crowns the man with the strongest influence. Think of a courtroom. The truth may sit in silence, but victory belongs to the lawyer who weaves a convincing tale. The facts themselves are helpless until they are placed in the hands of someone who knows how to twist them into a weapon. This is the same in politics, in business, in love, in war. The strongest narrative defeats the bare truth every single time. A man who clings to truth alone is like a soldier marching into battle without armor, without strategy, holding nothing but a pure heart. Noble, perhaps, but nobility does not stop the blade, influence does. And influence is born from power. Power over perception, power over resources, power over people's desires and fears. You see, truth is cold, and men are warm creatures. They want stories that flatter them, leaders who make them feel secure, illusions that give them hope. The truth, if it wounds them, is rejected. A ruler who tells his people the harsh reality without dressing it in promise or fear quickly loses his throne. The wise man does not serve truth raw. He seasons it with the spice of power so that it is consumed willingly. Consider history. Kings and conquerors did not win empires by being the most honest. They won because they bent truth to serve their ambition. Julius Caesar did not simply tell Rome he was marching across the Rubicon because it was his right. He cloaked his defiance in necessity, in loyalty to the people. His truth was rebellion, but his power was framing rebellion as salvation. And the people, hungry for a savior, accepted his version. Truth was powerless, but power turned it into destiny. Even in our daily lives, the same rule devours the naive. A man in the workplace who speaks only truth may say, "I work hard, I deserve recognition." Yet recognition goes not to him, but to the one who understands power, the one who shapes perception, the one who knows that the appearance of importance often outweighs the truth of it. He who builds alliances, plays the politics, and commands influence rises, while the honest worker fades. This is why you must understand. To value truth above power is to choose weakness, a dangerous mistake. Learn instead to bend truth without breaking it, to wield it in service of your advantage. Let others cling to the purity of honesty while you mold reality. For reality is not fixed. It is shaped by those bold enough to seize it. When you speak, ask yourself, does this truth serve me, or does it strip me? Does it build my power, or does it feed another's? For the tongue is not made to spill truth like water from a spring. It is a blade, and every word should be sharpened to cut toward your purpose. A truth without power is a candle in the wind. Power without truth is a torch that burns through darkness. And when the two are bound together, when truth bows to power, you become not just a speaker of facts, but a master of reality, trust. They tell you it is the foundation of every relationship, the glue that holds families, friendships, and kingdoms together. But this is the lie of the weak. The strong know that trust is not a gentle bond, it is a weapon. When you hand someone your trust, you do not offer them kindness. You hand them a blade. And if you are not careful, that blade is pressed against your own throat. Most men believe trust is earned, that it flows naturally from honesty and loyalty. But in reality, trust is granted not because someone deserves it, but because it serves a purpose. The ruler who trusts his generals completely is a fool. The general who trusts his ruler blindly is already defeated. Trust is never a gift. It is leverage. To give it recklessly is to gamble with your life. To demand it from others is to make them vulnerable to you. Observe the ambitious man. He does not go about the world searching for people he can trust. He goes about creating situations where people must trust him. He does not hand out his own trust like alms. He withholds it, makes it scarce, makes it precious. And in doing so, he forces others to prove themselves, to bend themselves, to serve his interest in exchange for the illusion of being trusted. Think of the court of any king. The courtiers whisper and scheme, each desperate to win the trust of the sovereign. They will betray, flatter, sacrifice, all for the chance to be the one the king relies on. Yet does the king truly trust any of them? No. He dangles trust before them like bait, using it to measure their loyalty, to test their weakness, to control their movements. He never gives it fully, for to give fully is to surrender control. This is why the nerve suffer. They reveal their secrets too quickly. They speak their true feelings too openly. They trust too easily. And in return, they are broken. For when you give trust freely, you give others the map to your vulnerabilities. You show them where your defenses are thin, where your fears lie, where your ambitions lie. And the clever will exploit this, wrapping chains around your own words, using your honesty as a cage. But when you reverse the game, when you hold back, when you remain unreadable, when you force others to invest their trust in you, while you remain cautious, you hold the knife. You can betray at the moment of greatest advantage, or you can use their loyalty as a shield. Either way, you remain in command. Consider the great deceivers of history. They never began by shouting their ambitions. They began by gaining trust. A man who intends to stab you does not charge with a sword. He first embraces you as a friend. Caesar trusted Brutus. The trust was not earned, it was manipulated, and it was Caesar who paid the price. Learn from this. Betrayal is always born from misplaced trust, never from calculated suspicion. In the marketplace, in politics, even in love, the same principle holds. If you can make someone trust you, you can lead them anywhere. If you can make them believe that you are loyal, that you are dependable, that you are safe, they will lower their guard. They will expose their weaknesses. And in that moment, you are free to strike, whether to conquer, to win, or simply to survive. Understand this: trust is not a virtue, it is a tool. It is something to give with caution, something to withhold with wisdom, and something to demand with precision. Let others throw it around like fools, but you hold it tightly, use it sparingly, and always remember the edge it carries. Reality is not what it is, but what people believe it to be. The world is filled with facts. Yet men do not act upon facts, they act upon perceptions. The truth of a situation can be buried, twisted, ignored, while the image of it commands armies, sways crowds, and changes destinies. If you understand how to control perception, you no longer need to fight for reality. You create it. Look around you. The powerful do not waste their time convincing the world of what is real. They convince the world of what looks real. A leader may be weak behind closed doors, trembling in doubt, but if he projects strength, if he masters the mask of confidence, the people follow. They do not see the trembling. They see the performance. And the performance becomes reality because men obey what they believe, not what they cannot see. Consider the general who is outnumbered. The truth says he will lose. But if he lights more campfires at night to make his army appear vast, if he spreads rumors of reinforcements that do not exist, the enemy hesitates, doubts, and may retreat. His soldiers believe they are stronger, and their courage swells. His enemy believes he is dangerous, and their fear grows. The reality of his weakness is irrelevant, because perception has replaced it. This is the battlefield of life. It is not enough to be capable. You must be seen as capable. It is not enough to be virtuous. You must appear virtuous. And it is not enough to be intelligent. You must cultivate the image of intelligence, the aura of wisdom, the presence of authority. For people cannot read your soul. They can only see the mask you choose to wear. Do not think this means you must always be false. No, deception is not always a lie. It is a stage. Sometimes the truth can be hidden within illusion. Sometimes it can be magnified. What matters is not the purity of the truth, but the effect of the image. A king who admits weakness to his enemies loses his throne. A king who admits weakness to his people loses their faith. But a king who cloaks weakness in strategy, who projects calm when chaos surrounds him, who makes himself look unshakable, bends the reality of others to his will. The masses crave perception. They wish to be guided by symbols, by stories, by appearances. The ruler who understands this does not show the raw machinery of power. He shows its polished image. He does not reveal his doubts. He reveals his triumphs. He does not explain his flaws. He projects perfection. And the people, desperate for certainty, will believe it. This is why rulers build monuments. This is why leaders wear crowns, uniforms, or fine suits. This is why conquerors ride through the streets in victory parades. The stone, the silk, the ceremony, these are not reality, they are perception. Yet perception hardens into truth when repeated enough. The people see strength, and so they obey. The people see legitimacy, and so they accept. You must learn this art. If you walk into a room uncertain, eyes cast down, shoulders bent, the truth of your knowledge or skill does not matter. You are perceived as weak, and so you are treated as weak. If you enter with poise, eyes sharp, voice steady, even if inside you doubt, perception makes you strong. And in time, perception shapes reality, because men treat you as strong until strength becomes your nature. The wise do not ask, what is real? They ask, what do others believe to be real? For in that answer lies the true battlefield of power. To master perception is to master the minds of others. And to master minds is to command the world itself. A man who reveals everything about himself has already surrendered the battle before it begins. To expose all your thoughts, your plans, your strength, and your weaknesses is to walk naked into a storm. Those who know you fully can predict you, trap you, and use you. Mystery, on the other hand, is armor. Concealment is strategy. To never show all your cards is to keep the world unbalanced, always guessing. Never certain where your true power lies. Think of the gambler at the table. The novice shows his emotions with every hand. His excitement when the cards favor him, his despair when they do not. His face betrays his strategy before he even moves. But the master hides behind a calm mask. He may hold nothing, yet he convinces others he holds everything. He may hold everything, yet he convinces others he holds nothing. This is not just a game of cards. It is the game of life. The winner is not always the strongest. It is the one who reveals the least. When you show all your cards, you make yourself predictable. Predictability is weakness. Enemies can anticipate your moves, allies can exploit your intentions, rivals can build walls against your advance. But when you hold back, when you let them see only fragments, when you allow them to believe they understand, while you keep your true aim hidden, then you are in control. For control is not about revealing, control is about withholding. The rulers of history understood this well. Consider the great strategists, the emperors, the kings who never let their court know their next move. They thrived because uncertainty was their shield. If no one knows your full design, no one can destroy it. If they cannot read you, they cannot stop you. Even your allies should never be given full vision of your mind. For today's ally may be tomorrow's betrayer. And a secret shared is a weapon handed away. The mistake of the naive is to believe honesty equals safety. They pour out their plans, confess their fears, reveal their ambitions in the hope of being understood. But to be fully understood is to be fully exposed. And exposure breeds vulnerability. The clever do not confess. They hint. They speak in riddles, in fragments, in veils of truth. They say enough to inspire trust, but never enough to surrender power. Even in daily life, this principle reigns. In negotiation, if you reveal your true limits, you are already defeated. If the other side knows the lowest price you will accept, they will grind you to it. If they believe you are desperate, they will exploit you without mercy. But if you hold your silence, if you let them wonder where your boundary lies, you force them to negotiate in the dark. And in the dark, your power grows. Understand that silence itself is a weapon. When men expect an answer, and you give none, when they expect clarity, and you offer ambiguity, their minds work against them. They imagine, they overthink, they grow anxious. And in their attempt to decipher you, they reveal more than you ever could. By keeping your cards hidden, you make others show theirs. This is why mystery commands respect. The man who speaks less, who reveals little, who guards his inner world, is feared and admired more than the one who spills everything. People assume there is depth where there is silence, strength where there is mystery. To remain unreadable is to appear untouchable, and appearance, as always, becomes power. Never forget, the moment you show all your cards, the game ends, and not in your favor. The wise keep an ace hidden, a plan unrevealed, a secret unspoken. For power lies not in what you display, but in what you conceal. Every man carries weakness within him, no matter how strong he appears. The clever eye does not look for grand gestures of strength. It looks for the small cracks, the fractures in armor, the shadows behind the mask. To exploit weakness and protect your own is not cruelty, it is survival. For the world is not ruled by the strongest body, but by the sharpest mind, the one who sees where others bleed and makes use of it. Watch carefully how men move. Their words, their habits, their reactions, they betray where they are fragile. The boastful man reveals insecurity. The silent man hides fear. The angry man is easily provoked. Every trait that seems like strength carries within it the seed of a weakness. The wise do not look at appearances. They study the patterns that reveal what lies beneath. Once a weakness is found, it becomes a lever. A man's greed makes him easy to tempt. A man's pride makes him easy to manipulate. A man's loneliness makes him easy to control. Why strike at iron when you can strike at the soft flesh? Why fight against strength when you can whisper to weakness and make it serve you? 1,000 battles may be avoided if you learn to pull the strings of another man's hidden flaws. But understand this equally well. As you hunt for weakness in others, they are hunting for yours. Every slip of the tongue, every show of emotion, every careless reveal can become the weapon another uses against you. To survive, you must guard your own flaws with more vigilance than you seek them in others. If you are prone to anger, learn to mask it. If you crave admiration, learn to cloak it. If you desire too much, learn to appear satisfied. Do not hand your enemy the very chain with which he can bind you. History is filled with rulers destroyed because their weaknesses were exposed. A king who craves the love of his people will empty his treasury to win applause, leaving his throne unstable. A general who fears losing honor will rush into battles he cannot win. A minister addicted to flattery will be surrounded by liars who guide him into ruin. Their strength was real, but their weaknesses were sharper. And the ones who knew how to exploit those weaknesses controlled them. As surely as a puppet master controls his dolls. This lesson does not belong only to kings. In every arena of life, the same law reigns. The colleague who needs approval can be bent to your favor, if you feed him just enough praise. The rival who cannot resist recognition will overextend himself, giving you the chance to step ahead. Even in matters of the heart, the one who exposes their desperate need becomes vulnerable to the one who withholds. It is always the same weakness as currency, and the one who controls it profits. Yet power does not come from exploitation alone. It comes equally from protection. You must build walls around your own weaknesses, so high that even those closest to you cannot see over them. If you fear betrayal, hide it behind indifference. If you fear failure, disguise it as confidence. Do not deny your flaws, but bury them deep beneath layers of discipline, until they are invisible to all but yourself. For the weakness that cannot be seen cannot be exploited. The art lies in dual mastery. The ability to read others as open books while keeping yourself closed. To pull secrets from their eyes while keeping your own in shadow. To let them expose their desires, their fears, their cravings while you reveal nothing. It is in this imbalance that power is born. For the man who knows the weakness of others while protecting his own is untouchable. He does not fight battles head on, he wins them before they begin. The friendships of men are fragile, and alliances are nothing more than contracts written in water. To believe that an ally today will remain loyal tomorrow is to live in a dream. Circumstances change, power shifts, and loyalty bends with the wind. What binds two men together in the present is not eternal devotion. It is mutual interest. And when that interest fades, so too does the alliance. The wise man prepares for this inevitability. The foolish one is surprised by it. Consider how alliances are born. Two sides unite because they share an enemy, a goal, a profit, or a threat. But once that enemy is gone, once the goal is achieved, once the profit is claimed, the glue that held them together dissolves. Yesterday's comrade becomes today's rival. The handshake that once sealed friendship now feels like a chain. It has always been this way. The very history of empires is built on alliances that were discarded the moment they outlived their usefulness. Think of kingdoms that joined forces against a common foe. When the enemy was crushed, the victors turned on each other to divide the spoils. Think of generals who fought side by side in battle, only to assassinate one another in the halls of power. Even brothers who share the same blood have betrayed each other for the sake of a crown. Why? Because ambition does not recognize permanent bonds. It recognizes only opportunities. To live wisely in this world is to never confuse temporary cooperation with eternal loyalty. Treat your allies well, but never blind yourself to their nature. See them as partners in a transaction, not companions in destiny. They are with you because it benefits them. And the moment it benefits them more to be against you, they will turn. This is not betrayal. It is the natural order of survival. But here lies the danger. Those who become enemies after being allies know you too well. They have seen your strengths, but more importantly, they have glimpsed your weaknesses. They know your habits, your desires, your secrets. This is why an ally who turns is more dangerous than an enemy who has always been against you. The stranger attacks from the outside, the former friend attacks from within. That is why you must always guard yourself, even from those closest to you. Never reveal everything, never lower your defenses completely, never forget that today's ally may be tomorrow's executioner. At the same time, understand the weapon this principle gives you. Just as allies can turn into enemies, enemies can turn into allies. Hatred and loyalty are not permanent states. They are states of convenience. The man who curses your name today may join your side tomorrow if it serves his ambition. You can use this to your advantage. Keep doors half open, never burn every bridge, for yesterday's rival may become tomorrow's greatest asset. This is why rulers are careful. They reward loyalty, but they never assume it will last. They punish betrayal, but they know punishment alone does not erase ambition. They play the game knowing that every ally sits on a shifting chair, one that may swivel toward friendship or treachery at any moment. And the most skilled rulers ensure that when the chair does turn, they are not caught off guard. They are already prepared. In daily life, this lesson is just as sharp. The colleague who praises you may compete against you tomorrow. The friend who supports your rise may envy you once you climb too high. Even in love, affection can decay into resentment, and loyalty into rivalry. To trust blindly in permanence is to walk willingly into betrayal. To remain vigilant, to expect the shift, to prepare for it. That is strength. The wise man walks among allies as if among wolves, not with fear, but with awareness. He accepts their cooperation, but never forgets their hunger. He welcomes their support, but keeps his knife sharp. He smiles at the table, but his mind is always calculating the day when the table breaks apart. Every structure of power is built on hierarchy. At the top sits the king, whether he is a ruler, a leader, or simply the central figure whose survival determines the fate of all. Beneath him lie the pawns, the replaceable pieces, those who exist not for their own glory, but for the stability of the greater design. To protect the king, pawns must be sacrificed. This is the law of survival, and those who hesitate to follow it find themselves dethroned, destroyed, forgotten. You must understand the cruel mathematics of power. Not everyone can be saved. Not everyone can be shielded. When the storm comes, some must be offered to it so that others may stand. In war, this is obvious. Soldiers march to die so that the general may live to fight again. But this principle extends beyond the battlefield. In politics, in business, in life itself, there will always be moments where certain individuals must be abandoned, discarded, sacrificed for the sake of the greater whole, or more precisely, for the sake of your survival. The wise leader does not flinch at this. He knows that hesitation is weakness, that indecision in such moments breeds ruin. The king who tries to save every pawn loses his crown. The commander who refuses to send men into danger loses the war. The man who clings to everyone and everything out of sentiment finds himself devoured, because he failed to recognize the necessity of sacrifice. Power demands blood, and if you are not willing to spill it, yours will be spilled instead. But sacrifice is not simply cruelty. It is strategy. To sacrifice pawns wisely is to direct attention, to shield your true designs, to mislead your enemies. Sometimes the pawn you let go is not only a shield, it is bait. It draws the enemy in, convinces him he has struck at your heart, when in truth he has wasted himself on something you were prepared to lose. A clever ruler knows how to dress up a pawn to look like a king, how to let others bleed in his place while he remains untouchable. This lesson also teaches discipline in attachment. Too many rulers fall because they grow sentimental about their pawns. They favor a courtier too deeply. They protect a soldier too dearly. They cling to an advisor too closely. And in doing so, they allow their own safety to be compromised. Remember, loyalty can be honored, service can be rewarded, but no pawn is worth the fall of the king. To think otherwise is to mistake emotion for power, and power is never ruled by emotion. In your own life, this lesson applies in ways subtle and sharp. You may be forced to let go of relationships that drag you down, allies who have outlived their usefulness, even parts of yourself that no longer serve your ambition. To cling to everything is to carry too much weight. The master of power sheds what is unnecessary, sacrifices what is expendable, and focuses only on what preserves his throne. Consider also how others will test you. They will watch to see if you are willing to sacrifice, if you have the steel to put survival above sentiment. Those who cannot do so are judged weak, but those who can make the hard choice command respect, even fear. A king who shows he is willing to sacrifice pawns sends a message. He values the throne above all, and nothing will move him from it. And when people believe nothing will move you, they stop trying. This does not mean cruelty for cruelty's sake. A ruler who discards pawns recklessly breeds rebellion. A leader who sacrifices too often without cause finds himself alone. The art is balance. Give just enough loyalty to keep men following you, but always remind them that you are the center, not they. Reward service, but never confuse the servant with the master. Protect those who strengthen you, but never hesitate to cast aside those who weaken you. The throne exists only as long as the king survives. Protect it with everything, even at the cost of those beneath you. For in the grand game, pawns are pieces to be played, and kings are the ones who decide how long the game continues. The world does not stand still. It changes with every breath, every invention, every war, every shift in desire or fear. To cling to old ways, to cling to what once worked, is to walk willingly into extinction. The lion who hunts as his ancestors may starve when the prey moves elsewhere. The ruler who governs by yesterday's laws may be torn down by tomorrow's rebellion. The man who refuses to adapt is already dead, even if his heart still beats. Survival belongs not to the strongest, nor to the most intelligent, but to the most adaptable, the one who bends without breaking, who shifts without losing balance, who evolves without hesitation. Adaptation is not gentle. It is ruthless. It requires you to shed what no longer serves you, even if you once loved it. It requires you to betray old habits, abandon old alliances, discard old beliefs. The world does not reward loyalty to the past. It rewards cunning in the present. What worked yesterday may be a chain today. What made you strong once may cripple you now. And if you cannot recognize this, if you cling to what is familiar because it is comfortable, then you are already prey for those who move faster. The great survivors of history were not the ones who never changed. They were the ones who changed before the world forced them. Caesar crossed the Rubicon because he knew Rome itself was changing and the Senate's authority was crumbling. Napoleon rewrote warfare because the old tactics no longer served the new age of artillery and mass armies. Even the most feared rulers remained in power not by staying the same, but by reinventing themselves to meet the moment. They betrayed their own traditions when those traditions became obstacles. That is why they endured while others fell. In life, the same law governs. The man who refuses to adapt his skills, who insists the world must value him as he is, will be discarded. The worker who resists learning new tools is replaced. The businessman who clings to old methods is devoured by competitors. The lover who cannot evolve with the needs of their partner is abandoned. Adaptation is not optional. It is demanded. And the price of failure is irrelevance. But adaptation is not merely reacting to change. It is anticipating it. The most dangerous minds see the shift before others do. They prepare quietly, changing shape before the storm arrives, so that when it comes, they are already positioned to rule within it. To adapt only when forced is desperation. To adapt before the world compels you is mastery. This requires a certain ruthlessness, for change always comes with sacrifice. To adapt, you must cut away the dead flesh of your life, no matter how much it once gave you comfort. You must betray your old self to become your new self. And most men cannot do this. They cling to their routines, their identities, their illusions, and when the tide rises, they drown. The few who survive are the ones who cast aside everything that weighs them down, even if it means becoming unrecognizable to those who knew them before. You must treat yourself as a weapon to be sharpened endlessly, reforged again and again. A sword left in the same shape grows dull, but the blade that is ground, reshaped, reforged, cuts deeper each time. So too must you reshape yourself to the demands of the moment. If you are seen as rigid, you will be broken. If you are seen as fluid, you will slip through the cracks, impossible to crush. Understand this. The world does not care for your comfort, your traditions, or your nostalgia. It only respects strength, and strength is born from change. To survive, you must be willing to betray yesterday for today, and betray today for tomorrow. Only then will you remain untouchable. The world rewards not those who resist change, but those who bend it to their will, those who adapt not reluctantly, but ruthlessly, until they are the storm itself. You have now seen the laws that most men ignore, the truths that polite society hides beneath false smiles and gentle words. 8 ruthless lessons, carved from the bone of history and sharpened for survival. They are not kind, they are not merciful, but they are real. Understand this: the world does not pity the Machiavelli, it consumes them. It does not protect the honest, it exploits them. It does not reward the weak, it forgets them. But for those who are willing to see clearly, to wield power as a weapon, to protect themselves with cunning, and to strike without hesitation, there is no ceiling. You are no longer blind. You are no longer a pawn waiting to be moved. You now hold the knowledge to step into the game as a player, to bend perception, to command trust, to exploit weakness, to sacrifice without remorse, to shift alliances, and to adapt until nothing can bind you. The question is no longer whether the world is cruel. The question is whether you will be cruel enough to survive it.